I have a secret life, one that nobody knows, not my friends, not my family, not even the people closest to me. It's something I've been living alongside my normal life, a parallel world that only I see. And the truth, it's darker, riskier, and more consuming than anyone could imagine. It didn't start out dangerous. At first, it was just a small thrill, a little indulgence I thought I could control. But over time, it grew. What began as curiosity turned into habit, and what was once exciting became a need I couldn't deny. Every day, I had to balance this secret life with the life everyone else thought I was living. The challenge wasn't just hiding it. It was the constant pressure of pretending everything was normal. Every smile, every laugh, every casual comment had to be measured. One slip, one careless glance, one forgotten lie, and everything I had built could collapse in an instant. I remember the first moment I realized my secret life was changing me. I caught myself thinking about it in the middle of work, imagining how I could fit it in without anyone noticing. My mind raced, heart pounding with guilt, excitement, and fear all at once. That's when I knew it wasn't a simple indulgence anymore. It was becoming a part of me. Over the years, I became skilled at concealment. I learned how to redirect conversations, how to appear distracted at the right moments, how to hide my phone and my actions without raising suspicion. It was exhausting, but necessary. The thrill of almost being caught became addictive, a dangerous game I played every day. And yet, even as I grew bolder, I never felt fully safe. I could see the consequences in my mind, the shock, the disappointment, the judgment if anyone discovered the truth. It terrified me, but somehow, it also fueled me. I had to be careful, always one step ahead, or risk losing everything. I started noticing how this secret life shaped my interactions. I became hyper-aware of reactions, analyzing every tone, every gesture. I learned to predict questions before they were asked, and redirect attention before it focused where it shouldn't. Living two lives had made me cunning, calculating, and constantly alert. But the secrecy came with costs. The stress, the anxiety, the constant planning. It wore me down. I couldn't relax fully, even with people I trusted. Moments of happiness were tinged with fear, and even simple decisions became complicated because I had to consider the impact on both lives. Then came the first close call, a situation that nearly exposed everything. A casual question, a lingering glance, a small slip, and I realized just how fragile my control was. My heart raced as I quickly redirected the conversation, laughed, and acted as if nothing was wrong. I survived, but the adrenaline lingered long after, reminding me of the danger I was living with. That near miss changed everything. It reminded me that my secret life was not just a private indulgence. It had consequences, and it could ruin everything if discovered. From that moment on, I became even more careful, more deliberate, more controlled in every action. And yet, I couldn't let it go. The thrill, the excitement, the sense of power and freedom it gave me. It was intoxicating. I was addicted to the secrecy, addicted to living a parallel life where I could be someone else entirely. The tension, the fear, and the adrenaline had become a part of me, shaping who I was in ways I couldn't escape. I knew that this secret life could never be revealed. Not yet, not ever. And so I continued, day after day, balancing my public persona with the private life that nobody knew existed. Each moment was a careful calculation, each interaction a test of my ability to maintain the illusion. But I also knew that every secret has a limit. Every carefully built wall has cracks. And one day, whether by accident, curiosity, or someone's intuition, my secret life could come crashing down. And when that day came, I had no idea if I would survive it, or if the people I loved would ever forgive me. If you find this story good, please like and subscribe our channel. It's free for you, but helps us a lot to keep sharing real stories like this. The stage is set, a secret life hidden from everyone, a thrill that became addictive, and a danger that is closer than I realize. Living a secret life for years changes everything. At first, I thought I could manage it. I thought I could keep the thrill, the excitement, the freedom of being someone else, without it touching my real life. But the reality is different. The longer you hide something, the more it shapes your every thought, every action, every choice. It started subtly. Friends would ask questions I hadn't anticipated, or someone would comment on something I thought was perfectly hidden. My heart would pound. Every time, I felt the tension in my chest, the fear that a single word, glance, or gesture could reveal everything. I became hyper-aware, analyzing everything people said, testing their reactions, and learning how close they were to noticing. The first real close call came unexpectedly. I was out with someone I trusted, and a casual remark brought my secret dangerously close to the surface. My instincts kicked in instantly. I laughed, I distracted, I steered the conversation away without anyone realizing what was happening, but the panic lingered. I could still feel it coursing through me hours later. After that, I realized just how fragile my control had become. 10 years of secrecy had taught me patience and caution, but even the most careful person can slip. Every interaction became a high-stakes game. Every smile, every casual comment, even every phone notification could be a threat. And living with that constant tension became exhausting. But there was also a strange thrill in it. The danger, the near misses, the constant need to stay alert. It gave life a sharper edge. Every time I successfully concealed the truth, the rush of relief mixed with excitement, making the secrecy almost addictive. I couldn't stop, even when I knew it was risky. My secret life began affecting my relationships in ways I hadn't anticipated. I withdrew from people in subtle ways, avoided certain topics, and sometimes lied about my whereabouts or activities. I felt isolated, even among friends and family, because no one could know the full truth. Yet, I couldn't let go. The secret had become part of my identity, inseparable from the version of myself I had carefully constructed over the years. Then came the second close call. It was a minor slip, a careless phrase, a glance that lingered too long, and someone I trusted noticed something off. Their curiosity was innocent at first, but I could sense it growing. Panic surged through me. I had to think fast, redirect, distract, and cover. One mistake, and 10 years of careful concealment could unravel in seconds. That night, lying awake, I reflected on how much my secret life had consumed me. It had taken over my thoughts, my habits, my emotions. Even moments of joy were tinged with fear, because the secret was always there, demanding vigilance, reminding me of the risk. Yet, I couldn't imagine stopping. The thrill, the tension, the control. I craved it. Every day became a balancing act between living normally and keeping my secret intact. I meticulously monitored my actions. Every phone call, every social media interaction, every casual chat. I had become a master of anticipation, predicting questions, calculating reactions, and avoiding situations that could expose me. And yet, despite my caution, the secret life was growing bolder. The adrenaline of almost being caught had become addictive. I found myself testing boundaries, pushing limits, seeing how close I could get without being discovered. The danger excited me, made me feel alive, and reminded me why the secret had stayed hidden for so long. Even with the risk, I began noticing patterns in my own behavior. I was constantly alert, constantly calculating, and constantly balancing fear with exhilaration. 10 years of secrecy had made me sharp, intuitive, and hyper-aware, but it had also made me exhausted, anxious, and emotionally isolated. By the end of that month, it was clear. The secret life had begun influencing not just my actions, but my personality. I was no longer just living a double life. The secret had become part of me, shaping the way I saw the world and the way I interacted with others. And I knew the danger was only increasing. One day, I realized something I hadn't fully admitted to myself. The secret wasn't just something I carried anymore. It was a force, alive and demanding attention. It could no longer be ignored, and I had to stay one step ahead or risk being exposed for the first time in a decade. I was no longer just hiding my secret. I was living around it. Every decision I made was filtered through one question. Will this expose me? What I said, where I went, how long I stayed, even how I reacted emotionally. Nothing was natural anymore. I had trained myself to perform normalcy so well that people thought I was calm, confident, even boring. They had no idea how loud my mind was inside. The real danger started when someone noticed a pattern. At first, it was harmless curiosity. A family member joked that I was always busy or hard to pin down. Friends teased me for being mysterious. I laughed along, but inside, my stomach tightened every time. Patterns are dangerous. Patterns lead to questions, and questions lead to truth. Then one night, everything almost collapsed. It was a small gathering, nothing serious, just family, food, noise, and comfort. The kind of setting where people feel safe enough to talk freely. I let my guard down for just a moment. One careless response. One detail that didn't fully line up with the story I had been telling for years. Someone paused. It was brief, almost unnoticeable, but I saw it. That moment when a person's face changes. Not enough to accuse, but enough to wonder. They asked a follow-up question. My heart started racing so hard I thought someone could hear it. I felt heat in my face. Pressure in my chest. This was it. 10 years of lies, balancing on a single sentence. So I did what I had always done. I lied smoothly, not dramatically, not nervously, calm, casual, almost bored. I added a small truth inside the lie to make it feel real. People trust lies that contain pieces of honesty. I had learned that over the years. The conversation moved on. Everyone laughed. Plates clinked, music played, but I wasn't okay. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed the moment again and again, imagining different endings. What if they had pushed harder? What if someone else had noticed? What if I slipped again? For the first time in 10 years, I felt something close to fear. Not the thrilling kind, but the heavy kind. The kind that sinks into your chest and stays there. After that, I became stricter with myself. I started avoiding gatherings. I shortened conversations. I stopped answering questions with anything more than necessary. I kept my phone locked, my schedules vague, my emotions guarded. People noticed the distance, but I framed it as stress, exhaustion, life pressure. They believed me. They always did. But the cost was growing. I felt disconnected from everyone. Even the people I loved felt like strangers because they didn't know me. They knew a carefully edited version. Sometimes I'd sit in a room full of people and feel completely alone, knowing that if they truly saw me, everything would change. And still, I didn't stop. In fact, something worse happened. The secrecy started to feel powerful. I realized how easily I could control situations, how effortlessly I could guide conversations away from danger, how people trusted me without hesitation. That trust should have stopped me. Instead, it fed something dark inside me. I began pushing slightly closer to the edge. Not enough to get caught, but enough to feel something. I'd share almost truths. I'd test reactions. I'd let people get just close enough to feel the risk. Each time I escaped suspicion, the relief turned into excitement. The secret wasn't just hidden anymore. It was alive. But secrets like that don't stay quiet forever. Someone else started watching me more carefully. Not accusing, just observing, asking gentle questions, remembering details. connecting dots. And I knew this person was smarter than the others. I started preparing for exposure without admitting it to myself. I rehearsed explanations. I imagined confrontations. I even thought about what I'd say if everything came out at once. And the scariest part, a small part of me wondered what it would feel like if it finally did. Because living this way, half visible, half hidden, was starting to break me. And I knew the next mistake wouldn't be forgiven by luck. I could feel it slipping. Not all at once, not dramatically. Slowly, quietly, like something loosening underneath my feet while I pretended the ground was still solid. Someone knew something. They hadn't said it out loud. They hadn't accused me, but the way they looked at me had changed. Their questions were different now. Careful, indirect, spaced out like traps instead of curiosity. They weren't trying to catch me in a lie. They were waiting for me to reveal myself. That kind of attention is terrifying. I started second-guessing everything. Every word I spoke sounded wrong to my own ears. Every pause felt suspicious. Even silence felt loud. I became overly controlled. And that control itself started looking unnatural. People notice when someone tries too hard. The worst part was that I couldn't tell how much they knew. Was it just a feeling? A guess? Or had they already put together pieces I didn't realize were visible? That uncertainty was unbearable. One evening, I was confronted, but not directly. They sat beside me, calm, almost gentle, and said something simple, something harmless on the surface. A comment about how long they'd known me, about how people aren't always who they seem, about how secrets change a person over time. They never said my name in accusation. They never said the word secret, but the message was clear. I felt exposed, like someone had turned on a light inside me without touching anything else. I nodded, smiled, even agreed with them, but my chest felt tight. My hands were cold. My mind was racing through every possible outcome. After that conversation, I knew I had lost control. Not completely, but enough to know I was no longer ahead of the situation. That night, I seriously considered ending it all. Not in a dramatic sense, just stopping the secret life, closing that door forever, letting the other version of me fade away. It sounded peaceful in theory, but when I imagined it, something inside me resisted. The secret had been with me for so long that I didn't know who I was without it. It had shaped my confidence, my choices, my sense of power. Ending it felt like erasing a part of myself, even if that part was toxic. So instead of stopping, I adapted. I created layers. I adjusted my stories. I rearranged timelines. I distanced myself from anyone who seemed too observant. I made myself smaller, quieter, less noticeable. I tried to disappear in plain sight, but damage had already begun. People felt the change. They sensed the distance. Trust doesn't disappear loudly. It fades in silence. I saw it in their eyes. The warmth was still there, but uncertainty had crept in. And then came the moment I had feared for years. A situation I couldn't control. Something unexpected happened. Something public enough that I couldn't rewrite it afterward. A detail surfaced that didn't match any version of the story I had told. It wasn't enough to expose everything, but it was enough to make people talk. Not confront, talk. Whispers are more dangerous than accusations. I watched conversations stop when I entered a room. I noticed glances being exchanged. I felt the shift in energy, subtle but undeniable. People weren't sure what they believed yet, but doubt had entered the space, and doubt spreads fast. For the first time in 10 years, I felt genuinely vulnerable. No clever lie could fully fix this. No smooth explanation could erase suspicion once it had formed. I realized how fragile my control had always been. One crack was all it took. That realization broke something in me. I felt angry, not at others, but at myself. Angry for risking everything. Angry for believing I was smarter than consequences. Angry for enjoying the secrecy when it was slowly poisoning my life. And yet, even then, I still didn't confess. I told myself I was protecting everyone. I told myself the truth would hurt more than the lie. I convinced myself that silence was kindness. But deep down, I knew the real reason. I was afraid. Afraid of who I would become once the secret was gone. Afraid of losing the version of myself that had survived for so long in the shadows. Afraid of being seen clearly for the first time. By the end of part 4, I understood something I had avoided admitting for years. The secret was no longer just something I carried. It was actively fighting to stay alive. And the next time it surfaced, it wouldn't be subtle. I knew it was over the moment I stopped sleeping properly. Not because someone had exposed me, not because the truth was out, but because my mind no longer gave me rest. Every quiet moment turned into noise. Every memory replayed itself differently. I started imagining conversations that hadn't happened yet. I practiced explanations no one had asked for. I lived in constant preparation for a confrontation that still hadn't come. That's when I realized something terrifying. My secret life was no longer hidden from others. It was no longer hidden from me. For years, I had told myself I was in control, that I chose this life, that I could stop any time I wanted, that the secret didn't define me. But now I saw the truth clearly. The secret wasn't something I had. It was something I was. I didn't even remember when it stopped being exciting and started being heavy. At some point, the thrill disappeared and only the habit remained. I wasn't chasing happiness anymore. I was just maintaining a version of myself I didn't know how to let go of. The scariest part wasn't getting caught. The scariest part was imagining life without the secret and feeling empty. I started noticing how much damage it had quietly done. Not dramatic damage. No screaming fights, no big explosions, just distance, missed moments, relationships that felt shallow even when they looked fine from the outside. People trusted me, and that trust sat on top of a lie. One night, sitting alone, I finally asked myself a question I had avoided for years. Who am I when no one is watching? The answer scared me, because without the secret, I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I had built confidence on deception, control on silence, identity on separation. The longer I thought about it, the clearer it became. The secret had protected me once, but now it was consuming me. I didn't confess publicly. I didn't make a dramatic announcement, but I made a decision. I started ending things quietly, closing doors, pulling back. Not because I suddenly became brave, but because I was exhausted. Exhausted of remembering lies. Exhausted of carrying two versions of myself everywhere I went. It wasn't easy. Some days I almost went back. Some days the urge returned. Some days I missed the feeling of being unseen yet powerful. But each time I reminded myself of how trapped I had felt. Freedom doesn't always feel good at first. Sometimes it feels like losing a part of yourself. Even now, nobody knows the full truth. This confession exists only here, in these words, in this moment. Maybe that makes me a coward. Or maybe it makes me honest for the first time. I don't pretend to be healed. I don't pretend to be proud. I just know this. Living a secret life slowly erases you. And surviving it doesn't mean winning. It means choosing to stop disappearing. If you're listening to this and carrying something similar, I won't tell you what to do. I only know that secrets don't stay quiet forever. They either come out or they hollow you from the inside. This was my story, and this is where I finally stop hiding. If you find this story good, please like and subscribe our channel. It's free for you, but helps us a lot to keep sharing real stories like this.